right. All right. So if you need motorcycle parts, riding apparel, things of that nature, you need to check out Old Bike Barn at oldbikebarn.com and on Instagram at Old Bike Barn. They got everything you need for your classic motorcycle, whether it's a cafe racer, chopper, stock bike, desert sled, whatever, you know. They got it. Especially they have things for your old Japanese bike that no one else has, because a lot of places don't have stuff for old Japanese bikes. But that's where I send people when they come in here looking for stuff for old Japanese bikes. I'm like, hey, you check out Old Bike Barn yet? They got most of the stuff that you need. And good pricing, and they're all around good people, great customer service. So check them out. oldbikebarn.com. They also have a line of leather goods and knives and stuff under the White Knuckler brand, all made in-house in the USA. So check them out. They've been doing a lot of collaborations on knives and stuff lately. Good stuff. oldbikebarn.com on excuse me, on Instagram at oldbikebarn. If you find yourself having issues with you know, you hurt yourself at work or the gym, or you have anxiety, sleeping problems, a little bit of depression, insomnia, whatever, you might need some CBD oil. And, you know, it's legal in every state. So it's one of those things that's making the rounds lately. Unfortunately, most people are going down to the local store and buying it. And a lot of that stuff's unregulated and garbage. So you need to check out Cradle Lake Clear over at cradlelakeclear.com. They have, you know, the full transparency in their processes and what they use, and it's only the top grade materials. And I use it like almost every night, and it helps me sleep so much. It's to the point where if I don't take it at night, I find that I sleep weird. So it helps me unwind, decompress, and sleep very well. Also helps, you know, if you know, go to the gym, you got some, or just general inflammation stuff, Cradle Lake Clear. Go check them out, cradlelakeclear.com, made out of the best stuff. If you happen to be in the unfortunate situation where you find yourself in a motorcycle accident, you need to check out Law Tigers at lawtigers.com. They are motorcycle injury attorneys founded by riders for riders. Yeah, if you go to Facebook, you type in Law Tigers in your state. So if you live in Rhode Island, you type in Law Tigers Rhode Island, and you can get in touch with the local office because they're set up all across country. So go to lawtigers.com or go to Facebook and type in Law Tigers in your state and get in touch with your local regional office. If I always forget to say this. If you go to Cradle Lake Clear and use the promo code Big Truth at checkout, you get 20% off your order. So make sure you do that because you save money, and it shows that people are listening and helping them out. So also, while we're talking about 20% off, holidays are coming up. Best place to go get some gifts is Omerta at omertamia.com, OMERTAMIA.com. Check them out. They got the realest clothing company there is out there. There's no other way to say it. So check them out, omertamia.com. And, you know, whether you need hoodies, hats, socks, T-shirts, whatever, all kinds of shit. I'm sure they got all kinds of crazy holiday shit planned. So check them out, omertamia.com. Use the promo code Big Truth at checkout and get 20% off your order there. Also, if you're in the, you know, into dark weird shit, you need to check out Heavy. That's my man Zach Dunes clothing company, and you know, he has also some, you know, antisocial products outside of clothing. But you go to heavy.bigcartel.com or on Instagram at Heavy Clothing. You know, if you're into weird shit like serial killers, occult stuff, 70s show vans, choppers, I don't know, just weird shit, drugs, PCP, psychedelic light shows, any of that stuff, any of those things sound interesting to you at all? Go check out Heavy at heavy.bigcartel.com. Sorry, it's been a little bit since I did one of these, so I'm stumbling through these. I'm half asleep. Full disclosure, we just had a full weekend of of shows, and it's been so so long since I've been to multiple shows in a weekend. We went Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. Slapshot did a 35-year anniversary show. Stars and Stripes, a whole litany of bands played in Boston. All kinds of friends from out of town came in, and brothers. So we were it was a good time all weekend. Paying for it right now as I trudge through these sponsors, trying to just do right by the sponsors because they help keep the show going, growing, and supporting us. So I just want to do right by them. If you are looking for motorcycle-related information and whatever it may be, you need to check out Chop Cult at chopcult.com. On all the social media, simply at Chop Cult. They are the biggest information clearinghouse and for motorcycle related stuff, whether you're building choppers or customs or just want to just go on and talk shit. They have the biggest message board system out there, all divided by topic and fun stuff, factual stuff, tech stuff, whatever. They also have an online swap meet where you can buy and sell and barter parts. They have an events page that gives you all the listings of motorcycle events all around the world, broken up by location and date and whatnot. They can send you an email digest with some of their articles and all that stuff. All kinds of shit going on over at Chop Cult. They got a store up there, all kinds of shit. So you check them out, chopcult.com. Membership is absolutely free, so it doesn't cost you nothing. They don't ask for a credit card or any of that sketchy shit. Because a lot of things nowadays seem like they're free, but they're really not. You know what I'm saying? Pitchfork, also another place to go look for holiday gifts. PitchforkNY.com. They're a clothing company and been around well over a decade, and they're a staple in the hardcore metal and punk rock scenes. They're the shit, all the bands you like, they're wearing Pitchfork shit, so, because it's fucking rad. My boy Warren and company, they've been doing it right for a long time. They also do a record label. They just put out a New York hardcore, a new compilation LP. So check it out, pitchforkny.com. And also, if you want to support, you can check out my shop, Chop Ahead, over at www.chopahead.com, which is CHOPPAHEAD, or just come in the shop, 13 County Road, East Freetown, Massachusetts. We're open every day but Sunday. We're a full-service brick-and-mortar motorcycle shop, so whether you need an oil change or a full custom chopper built or whatever, or anything in between, we do it. I mean, just this week we did audio updates on bikes. We repairing crash bikes, doing insurance stuff for that. I mean, whatever. We got 2 choppers on lifts. We got an FX RP that we're building up. We got all kinds of shit going on here. So whatever it is you need to do, we do it. We got parts. We got a parts counter. We got a showroom, with motorcycle apparel, so you can come try on helmets and not just guess and order shit online. You can come in here and try shit on. And if you are going to order online, just order online from us. We got whatever you need. If you don't see it on our website, give us a call or shoot us an email. And we will be happy to oblige because we're set up with pretty much everyone. And we put more time into the actual brick and mortar part of the shop than we do the online part, which is kind of dumb. But sooner or later, I'll get someone that can help develop that stuff with me more. But yeah, so by and large, check out chopahead.com. Appreciate it. Last but not least, if you want to support the podcast financially and, check us out, go to patreon.com/bigtruth. And a big shout out to all the patrons that we got. We had a new one this week, Diggy. I got to appreciate it for you signing up, man. I should have put that right at the beginning, but my brain is a little slow functioning today, as I already said. But yeah, so check us out at patreon.com/bigtruth. There's 4 different levels of support you can sign up for. I just did a massive giveaway this week. I ended up giving out 3 care packages. I had one of the Patreon members from Portland, Oregon, had flown out for those Slapshot shows, came by the shop, hooked them up with extra shit because membership has its privileges, right? So, you support the show. I appreciate it so much. And, we do things to try and give things back as much as I can. And I got a lot more stuff planned for this upcoming year. 2022 going to be a big one. So patreon.com/Big Truth. Last but not least, go to Chop Ahead Cut. Go to Chop. If you just want more information on the podcast itself, go to bigtruthpodcast.com. All the episodes are up there. And as always, like, subscribe, share the show, leave a comment wherever you're listening to this. Leave a review, hit share, hit subscribe, and hit like and all that stuff. It's different wherever you listen. It's different for YouTube and Spotify or wherever. But just do all that stuff because it helps matriculate this thing around a little bit more. But last but not least, let's get into today's episode right now.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Yes, once again, we have liftoff. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode of the Big Truth Podcast. And I'm stoked to have my man, Scott Johnson, with me here. And you might know him from the Mama Tried motorcycle show or the Flat Out Friday races attached to that show and others. And or if you're a local in the Wisconsin area, you might know him from the Fuel Café. He's a man of a Renaissance man with his hands in a lot of things. So without further ado, I want to take time to give a warm welcome to my man, Scott. How you doing, bro?
Hey, man. How are you?
Just living, dude. Just living.
That's quite an introduction.
Hey,
but I'm really happy to be here and hanging out with you. So,
yeah, no, cool. It was good. And I always meant to have you on, and it was like when we bumped into each other and got to hang out a little bit at Fuel Cleveland like a few weeks back. It cemented. I was like, oh yeah, man, I know. Let's get up because Mama Tried, is one of my favorite shows, and on top of that, the Flat Out Friday was just literally one of the fucking coolest things to come about in the motorcycle show circuit in the last fucking decade for sure, and just brought a whole, just kicked it up, you know what I mean, and made the show so much more fun. So I definitely wanted to be able to have you or Junior on and talk about that a little bit, and you've just been around a long time and a mainstay in the motorcycle industry, so it's good to talk to you and learn a little bit more about what you got going on and your background and all that stuff. So
cool. Dude, it was really great to see you in Cleveland. That was super. It was unexpected, just because that was only the second show that we'd been to, kind of since everything shut down in 2020 in March, and we went to Cheap Thrills. That was in New Jersey, and that was really fun. The Seaside one, and we had a blast there. But it was, even driving out there, I was like, oh man, they're like, am I going to remember people? Like, are there going to be, are people into going to motorcycle shows anymore? And that was really fun. And then going to Cleveland was like, it was just so rad because, that's the whole thing with shows. I mean, it's cool to see the bikes and all that stuff, but when I try to explain motorcycle shows to people who haven't been to one or, that's not really their scene, it's like, it's cool to go and see the bikes. I mean, that's obviously the reason that we're all there, but it's having this like family that you get to see a couple times a year that you're super tight with, that you just, you only get to see each other once in a while. And it's just such great fun to like see people. So it was great to see you and Bobby there. That was super cool.
No, absolutely, and that's the beauty of these shows, right? Is I think it's just like you were saying. There's a few levels to it, right? There's the obviously you're there to see the bikes and the things around the bikes, like that are exhibited, whether it's like art or like or like
photography or vendors or whatever.
Yeah, or the curated exhibits, whether it's like like I see a lot of people will do like special helmet collections or like sissy bars where they have different artists, do up different things, and that's always awesome. But one of the cool things about this world is that whether it's just like people that are into it, or industry people, and I don't like to talk about industry people, but
No,
you know,
yeah,
we're
I
all
understand.
involved in shit, but we've all been in it for a long time. So it's like it's weird, man. Like when the shows shut down and there was no shows for a while, it was like, it's just like you said, man. It was weird. It was like, oh man, I
Yeah.
haven't seen. And you don't even think about it till you get to the show, and it's like, oh shit, like you're like, I got like
Exactly.
200 friends here that I forgot. Not that I forgot,
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
know that
yeah.
that you, and it's not, you take it for granted that you know, you just assume you're going to run into everybody, and then when all the catalyst for how you run into everybody is taken away, you know what I mean? Like you
Yep,
don't
exactly.
even think about it because you just get stuck in your world, and then it's like,
Yeah.
man, it's like, this is what it was about. Like, you know what I mean? Besides, I mean, that was the one good thing, is that like they didn't stop anyone from riding, you know what I mean? So we all rode,
No.
but it wasn't the same as, like, there wasn't the communal aspect of it, like the gathering aspect of it. That's what was missing, you know, on a bigger level. I mean, we still did like some bike nights and stuff and got together locally, and there was some smaller local shows, but like the big ones where you know, you run into people from all across the country, that was something that was missing for a year and a half, whether it was in this industry or this trade or you know, the motorcycle show circuit or like just music circuits, whatever it was. There was a lot of stuff that you realize, you know, like whether you, I think if anything, it lets us kind of reset and not take a restock, and maybe not take things for as granted as much anymore. Like be like more stoked and more present at the shows. Because I used to get, you know, bombed or whatever, and just be like, I don't even remember the show. And I tried not to get that way this year. I was like, I just want to actually have fun, but remember it, you know.
Yep, exactly. Hey, I mean, maybe that's, you know, I hadn't even considered that. Maybe that's like a high point of, you know, of like a positive thing that happened in 2020. You know, that people just maybe it was good to take a breather from everything, and everybody had a minute to like sort of catch up on their like local, if you know, if you weren't already super involved in your local scene, but you know, maybe, and that just became your focus, and you just had to, you know, it gives you like a little bit of breathing space to like appreciate all the stuff around you. I mean, there's, you know, appreciating the motorcycle stuff, but I think, you know, like everyone, like I learned to cook while I was, you know, during COVID, and lots of stuff like that, like lots of thinking about like what, you know, what life was all about and all that stuff. But I think for motorcycle stuff, I think it was kind of neat. It was more grooving with people that are in my town and in my area, and that was kind of cool. So that was super well appreciated. But you know, every time I go to a show too, I was like, I actually was anxious that when I went to New Jersey and I went to Cleveland, that I wasn't going to remember. Like I would remember people's faces, but I wouldn't remember their names. And it was so, I was impressed with my own brain's ability to like recall people's names just like that, which I didn't have, people that I hadn't thought of in a really long time. So that was super fun. But wait a minute. So I have a question for you. Okay. I didn't realize that you and Bobby Goodtimes are like such old friends, because I forgot. He keeps telling me all the time, he's like, dude, I'm from the East Coast. Because I know him as a Chicago guy.
Oh,
you guys go way back.
Oh yeah, like probably close to 20 years at this point.
Crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like for music stuff or for motorcycles or both? Or?
Motorcycle stuff, yeah. Like it's the small world thing, right? Like we met through motorcycles, but then we, you know, we came from the same music background too. Like, so we were probably at some of the same shows, but without knowing each other, you know what I mean? Musically, because he was in bands that I knew or seen and stuff and whatnot. And but no, it was just my boy Keith in New Jersey. I became really good friends with, and Rob used to ride with him, and then we just all started riding together. But how we all met was because Keith and I were friends, and then we were going to the smoke out, and he brought his Jersey crew, and I brought my Massachusetts crew or New England crew, and we all went there, and that's like we just started raising hell, you know, because we were a lot younger too, you know what I mean, I mean, put it this way. So on the old Chopperhead DVDs, the first one, this was probably from 2003 or maybe 4 or something like that. there's a scene from like one of the old smokeouts, and it's probably the smokeout, probably number 3 or number 4, like, but probably number 3. I think it's it's one of the early smokeouts when it was still really small. I think it was the first year where they actually filmed the first biker build off, and it was Billy Lane versus I think Bourget or something, and there was really only like 1,000 people at the show, but they had to have everyone stand close because they wanted to make it look like it was bigger than it was and everything, because it was at the infancy of all this. There was, and of this new, of that wave of like chopper shit.
That era. Yeah.
And so, but that's like, he's the one, like, there's like the scene, because it was kind of a standout thing, like, that people picked up. But like, I'm wearing like an old metal fucking helmet, and he's like smashing 40 bottles over my head, and that's like from 2003 or 4. So that's where, we go back to like back then.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
But
I love it. Because he's such a good egg too, and he's always such a pleasure to see. There's like people around that you see, and you're like, hey, what's up? And there's other people that are like, you genuinely are so stoked to see. The vibes are great, and they always have something nice to say, and like they always got a smile on their face, and just good energy. So I'm into that.
Absolutely, for sure. And and it was like, it's like I think what like I said. And before I go any further, too, just shout out to fucking Walter. And I was supposed to be at Cheap Thrills, and it was just a mess. I couldn't make it this time. But we actually gave away like a package for like a hotel and all this stuff and free admission I worked with Walter and doing like giveaway stuff for the show and everything. So it's a bummer because that's like I've been to every single Cheap Thrills, and even like the show that it kind of like spurred out of, I used to go to. Yeah. And
that's cool.
And so it's the first one I missed, so I felt bad this year, but that one I really wanted to hit. But this year it's just bananas, you know what I mean? And it was crazy. It went from like nothing to like 110, and then like everyone just started booking in August and September, and I was like, God damn, dude, I there's not like one weekend like without something fucking huge going on right now, and
yep.
And
totally. And that was a good time, and that was the first one that I'd ever been to. I've heard about it for years, and I know Walter from just around, and he's a good egg too. He's had bikes in Mama Tried before, and just a good. I met him through Warren, and he's just always been a good friend and a good person to know, and always positive and helpful. So.
Absolutely.
So that was really fun to go out there, man. We had the fucking best time. It was really, really cool.
Yeah,
I really dug it.
I know. Because of the shutdown and everything, he had a lot of time to think and plan, and I know he really kicked it up a notch this year and had a lot of really fun things going on. It seemed like when he laid it all out for me, like we were talking one night, and I was like, dude, this sounds more like a fucking circus than a show. And he's like, oh, dude, I don't even know how I'm gonna fucking manage it, because he's gonna. Like, we got like 3 different sites going on with different things, and
yeah, it was cool, man. It was a lot of fun. We had a blast. The vibes were awesome.
Yeah,
but a lot of patches though. I didn't realize like we don't really have that around here.
Different clubs.
Motorcycle clubs. It's not like a really big thing in this area. I mean, there's an Outlaws chapter here, but everybody, it's pretty low key and everybody gets along. So it was wild to go there and just see all the patches. It's like when I went to Texas for Giddy Up, and I saw tons of patches down there too. I was just like, wow, because it's just not really our world, But when you forget, and when you go to another part of the country, and then that's just part of it,
Oh yeah, so absolutely, yeah.
That was interesting. That was cool.
Yeah,
a lot of scowls, but like a lot of really like dudes with big smiles too. Like you don't expect it. You like try not to make eye contact. So you're just like, all right, everybody just keep to themselves and be cool. And then a lot of dudes would be like, "What's up?" And like it's big, like they got a beer in their hand. They just want to party and have a good time. So it was cool. I dug it. It was like a new, just going on any trip. That's what it is. Like you learn new ways and like how they do things in different places and what the vibe is there. And so that was interesting. That was cool.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, everyone's there because they're in the bikes, right? So it's like there's a commonality, a common thread at least, a shared interest with everybody.
Totally. I saw some really cool bikes there too. in the show, but also like in the parking lot, especially like where the pool was.
Yeah.
There was like a lot of really, really cool, like modern, Dyna style, like street bikes. And, I saw this one thing, and I'm just not really up that on new Harleys that much, but, this thing was like, it was like a street glide, but it didn't have a big fairing on it. And it had like the tall T-bars and like the mini club fairing.
Yeah.
And it looked so fucking cool. And I was like, I couldn't figure out what about it was like amazing. And there was no one around to be like, whose bike is this? And like, what's the deal with this? And I stood there and just looked at it for like 10 minutes. It was super cool. I was super into it. I didn't have my phone with me. I was charging it in my room.
Of course.
And I wanted to take a picture of it. I know. I wish I would have taken a picture of it. It was so cool.
Yeah. I'm sure someone has a picture. If you just look up like show pics from just look up the hashtag for Cheap Thrills New Jersey, I'm sure if it caught your eye, I'm sure it caught a lot of people's eye.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
But that's one of the best parts of shows, like, too, is not just the show, like, and obviously the bikes that are curated on display in the show are something to behold. But a lot of times, walking around the parking lot, you're gonna see some shit and be like, "Oh, why is this out here and not in there?" or whatever.
No
you know
doubt.
what I mean? You're like, obviously there's only limited space, but like a lot of times the parking lot is just as fucking rad, And
exactly, and that's the only thing about Mama Triad and Flat Out Friday that all of us, Jeremy and Warren and I, kind of miss is like having it in a warm weather time of year.
Yeah,
is getting all that parking lot stuff. I mean, there was one Mama Triad that was like, it was way back. It was like the third year, I think, and it was in March or February. And it's usually like super, super, super cold here, but it was like 50 degrees and super sunny. And
I was at that one,
out,
and you couldn't do the ice racing that year. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And there was and the lines were super long to get into the building, but there was like people put coolers on carts and were like going up and down the line selling beer, and everybody was hanging out outside. And it was like more fun to be outside because no one had seen the sunshine and warm weather for such a long time. We were all up in the show. And then I kept hearing people coming up going, man, it's so rad outside, So,
yeah.
So yeah, that's part of it. And that's the thing about shows that's really cool, just like you were saying, it's so multifaceted. And as like someone who organizes that kind of stuff, we put so much effort into making all these, different things like, not only have curating like a cool show with good bikes and good people, but like, having photography or having films or having bands play or, but then a lot of times it's like people, it's not like it's not worth doing because it totally is. Because each one of those things will like super catch someone like and really nail, they'll walk away from it and that'll be like the one thing they remember, like the photographer that, the photos that they saw or a film that they saw or a band that they saw, and they won't even remember the bikes. But so it's worth doing all that stuff. But sometimes, like, you go to shows like and you book stuff and then people just have no interest, like, oh, there's only 5 people that are interested in this one thing. I remember from a couple of years ago, this is when we were doing at the rave, and we had this like burlesque show come, and it was like it was in one of the bars downstairs, and there was like naked women and, like dancing old school with like cool old costumes on. And like this one woman had a boa constrictor around her neck, and we're in the bar like partying and having a good time, and there was probably like, I don't know, 20 people down there, and people kept walking by and they'd stick their head in and be like, kitties, and then they would just be like, and they'd nod, and then they just walk up to where the bikes are. It's like you couldn't even get people to come in to like a burlesque show because everyone gets so stoked on looking at motorcycles. And I get it. I mean, that's where they want to be, but it's just funny, like how much of a draw the motorcycles have. It's like we all turned into that same little kid, when we were like 6 years old or 8 years old or 10 years old, and we fought, and we'd all seen motorcycles, but you saw that one that like really caught your eye, or your uncle came riding up on a bike, or your neighbor started one up, and like, or every Saturday morning he was out there working on it. That it just brings us back to that thing. Yeah. And I think that's what's awesome about it. That's what's awesome for me about it.
Yeah,
Just
man.
like that feeling of being a little kid again.
But one thing that you mentioned, like that, and it didn't hit me until you kind of talked about, what you just talked about. But the other good thing about like these shows is, yeah, you're curating a bike show and selecting the bikes that are going to be on exhibit. But what's cool about like the show circuit that we kind of all have, that we're all part of, as participants or organizers or just attendees or whatever, is that, each of them have their own local flavor, and you get to see the town or the kind of subcultures of that area. But it's like a lot of these shows, you're curating a whole experience when you walk in.
Yeah.
It's not just like the bikes. It's like, and that's when, there's the art stuff, there's the vendor stuff, there's like, like one cool thing that Walter used to do, does is like he has the big swap meet, so you can go and like buy a front end, you know what I mean? Because you got the space to do that. Like not every place you work with the space and the allotment of what you got, and everyone always does new and interesting things. Like, you know what I mean? And
yeah, exactly.
And that's what I was saying earlier. That's when I was giving like a nod to Flat Out Friday, because I think that's one of the best things that like that was a game changer, like kick up to like the regular bike shows. Is like, oh yeah, we have the bike shows, but we got fucking racing the night before, and not only do we have racing, we're gonna have like hooligan classes and like the everyone's everyone loves the real racers and the professional stuff, or like the people that are like really like into racing, but everyone always loves it when people bring their 20-foot long chopper out there and do like the fucking wild style class, you know what I mean?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that was fun, and we didn't even realize like what that it would really people would be into it. We were pretty prepared to lose our shirts on it, but it was just such a cool, fun idea, and we had so much fun planning it. And so the thing that we got excited about is because, Jeremy was a friend of mine from when he's the guy behind Flat Out Friday. So Flat Out Friday is like 95% Jeremy. It's his philosophy, his outlook on life, a vibe that he's trying to create. It's a race, but it's also a show.
Yeah.
And he's trying to make something for the audience, that, we've all been to dirt track races or motorcycle races, and they're super fun for the person who's competing, and maybe if you're into wrenching and that kind of stuff. But it's not really a show, it takes all day, and there's tons of lag time between the races, and that's great, and that's the thing. And I was involved in that world forever too, but he wanted to do something different where it was like the spectator can like super get into the vibe of the race and make it quick fire and just like go quick, and the races are short and there's no time in between. And you have a bunch of weird, like you have some professional stuff, then you have the goofball class or the mini bike classes, the boonie bike classes. And he was dead on. That was like the perfect thing. And we've just been having so much fun. And the thing that was fun or was interesting when he first proposed it was when he put it out for people to sign up for it, it immediately filled up. Like, it was like 300 people immediately signed up. We were just like, whoa, wait, what? So that was cool. And then, it was great. And then, Jeremy, if you've ever been a competitor at a Flat Out Friday race, you get to see Jeremy as a promoter do the riders meeting, and his riders meeting speeches are just epic. We always say we're going to film them, and then we just get too busy, and then we just always forget. But they're so good, and they're just so filled with his philosophy about what he's trying to accomplish. And he'll say shit like, "Hey, everybody, this is not about you. Like, I know that you signed up and you paid your money, and you got up at 3:00 in the morning to drive here, and you were waiting outside in the cold, and you set your pits up, and you're waiting all day to race. But like, this is not about you. This is about all of us." And the guy next to you who's struggling with his bike, or the person who doesn't understand where the chute is, or doesn't understand like what the order of things is, or looks a little confused. This is where you put your own self, like just put what you're trying to do like on the back burner and help the person that's next to you. 'Cause that's what this is all about. And that's how we're all going to have fun. And that's how we're going to make a great show for the audience that's out there. And people dig it. I've seen people that are like, these super stoic Midwesterners who don't really say much, and they're really earnest and hardworking, and just the kind of man a few words type. And I'll just see them just like crack a smile and start laughing at stuff that you like to put people a little bit out of their comfort zone, and just and make them feel things that maybe they hadn't thought about it. And I really think that's one of the unique things about Flat Out Friday. It's a great show if you're a ticket buyer, but if you're a racer in the pits and you get to see one of Jeremy's riders meetings and listen to his philosophy on things, it's a fucking riot. It really is.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And what's cool about that is like, you guys had, like it just caught on and it seemed like it just fucking hit the ground running and just grew quick. And like, it's cool because you go to that the night before and it's just like families there and stuff that probably aren't going to be at Mama Tried or the show. But like, it's also a community event, and you can tell all like obviously Milwaukee's a fucking motorcycle town, so you know what I mean. It works out, you know what I mean. But it's cool, exactly. Like because it gets other people, and that's fucking imprinting on these kids, like there's a ton of families there, and it's like imagine being a kid and you're like at these bike races, and then the anything goes class comes, and some dude's in a gorilla suit riding a fucking chopper, fucking dropping his bike and sliding and fucking jumping back on it and shit, like that's gonna resonate, and some kid 20 years from now is gonna be the dude like doing it, you know what I mean? And because that's an important thing, man. Like the world's a little weird now and a little wacky now, so like these type of events I feel like help foster and make sure the shit we're into kind of continues, because
absolutely, because we all got somehow dosed with that, but not every kid does, and some kids it'll just like it'll go right over their head, but you can see those kids that it's just under their skin, and it's never going to let go. And that's just so cool to watch. And how did you get into bikes? Like, were you a motorcycle family? Was it like your pop or your uncles, or, was it motocross, or how did you get into it?
So I grew up in the city, so I didn't ever, like, I wasn't the kid with a dirt bike, but, when I was a kid, like a baby, like my father's always been like kind of like a motorhead type guy. Like he's always had. When I was a kid, he always kind of had cool cars, and he was always flipping cars and shit. And he had bikes, like like when I was really young. But if I really got to fucking chase it, right? Like when I got to really think about it, so I think like he set the base for tone for like being into like cool shit, like as far as like automotive vehicle stuff, you know what I mean? Whether it's cars or bikes, like it was kind of always in the back of my head, just grew up with that. Like he was gonna, whatever, always be flipping stuff. But when I was, when I was young, got into skateboarding and punk rock and all that shit. Like in middle school, I got a moped, and that's, you know what I mean?
Nice.
I was like, so I could get places, like, and I would just literally strap my skateboard and a backpack on, and I jump on the moped, like 10-year-old kid or whatever, and or 11-year-old kid or whatever, and just fucking roll over and try and get over to where my friends were, and just so literally that was my first taste of freedom, being able to get out of my general neighborhood or like my bicycle riding radius. I was able to get beyond that on a motorized vehicle, like, and so that's huge. That's literally what it was. It's funny because it's probably my first time kind of really answering that, so but that's what it was. Awesome. And then later in life, like I've been on record with this before, but like motorcycles was like almost a logical next step for like someone that was like a punk rock skateboarding kid, because it was the next thing that was loud, fast, dangerous, do it yourself, all that shit, you know what I mean? And antisocial and all that. And so when I got into bikes, I think I got into choppers right away, because that was like the punk rock of motorcycles. And I went even deeper and got into the Triumph stuff, because like that wasn't as cool. So to me, that was even the more punk rock shit. You know what I mean? I was like, plus it was what we could afford. And my friend and old business partner, Jay, his father like had like Triumph choppers and stuff. And Jay got his father's Triumph chopper. And I was like, fuck yeah, man. And you could still, at that time in the late 90s, early 2000s, you could still buy them for like $600. And you know what I mean? I was like, all right, I can swing that. I don't got 10 grand for this, but I can do 600. You know what I mean? And
yeah, hell yeah.
But that's
awesome.
that's really how'd you get into bikes? Like what sparked that for you?
Well, I kind of had the same thing. Like my stepdad, my stepdad was like always like a MacGyver kind of guy. Like he never paid anybody to do anything, to fix anything or build anything. So when we were little kids, I'm the oldest of three. And my younger brother is 3 years younger than I, and my sister is 3 years younger than my brother Todd. And when we were kids, my dad, got us set up with, built us BMX bikes. Like before before you could buy them in the store, you were like taking a Schwinn and you had the basically like mini apes on it, remember? And then, it was still banana seat and stuff. And so we were like riding the shit out of those and like breaking stuff. And then BMX sort of started coming on the scene, like in our world, like, and then, my dad we were constantly breaking these bikes, and my uncle was a machinist. So they were building us like new fork sets and handlebar sets and stuff that we couldn't break. And then we got a mini bike, and we were riding that all the time. We kind of grew up in the country.
Yeah.
And then there was a ton of kids that were around us, and one kid had a KX80, and another kid like had a CR80. Like it was all, everyone had, and one other kid had a Suzuki. They were all 80s. And then my dad was like, "Oh, okay." So we were like trying to keep up with these guys on our little like pull start Briggs, and so he got my brother and I a brand new YZ80. And I remember, I remember to this day, and it tears me up to think about it. I remember the night that we brought it home, because it was like a whole week of, we're going to go look at motorcycles, and, I want to get you guys, you guys talking about all the time. And, he wanted us to do research on which ones. And so we were constantly poring over these magazines and brochures, like, is the Honda better than the Kawasaki, or is it the Yamaha or the Suzuki, like which one? And it was a big deal, for my family. It was like super expensive. And I remember like the day that we went and visited like every dealership to look at each one. And the Yamaha one was last. And we went to this place that was sort of out by our house. And, my dad, it was like back in the day where you like, you went in this little teeny office and negotiated a price on this thing with the guy that owned the place. It was like super teeny place, and, mostly big repair shop in back and like super small showroom. And I remember he got the guy to like throw in like 2 helmets, and we put the thing in the trunk of his car, in this old Pontiac that he had, and we drove it home. And I remember it was late by the time we got home.
Is it back when trunks were trunks and you could fit?
Yeah, exactly. You could put a motorcycle. Yeah. And I remember we got home, my mom was like, "Time for dinner," and we were just so stoked. And then by the time dinner was done, she was like, "Okay, well, it's late. You guys got to get cleaned up for bed." So I remember she was like, "Go up the stairs and brush your teeth." And so like I feigned like I was going to go upstairs, and then I snuck around the back and went out into the garage and just stared at this bike that was parked in the garage. It was brand new, this brand new YZ80. I just bawled my eyes out. I was just so stoked and pumped. And like from that day on, like my brother and I, we had to share it, but we just like, we fixed it. We rode it every day, all day. We come home from school and just like ride it all day until dark. On the weekends, it's all we did was ride it. And it was just the most fun thing. And that it just, once the hooks were in, like that was it. It was it was nonstop. But I came to Harley's late. So I was like a more, like sort of, metric Japanese. When I went to college, I had like a Honda, and then I had a Yamaha, and, then, cause even when I was in high school, I didn't have a motorcycle, like didn't have a car either, but just wasn't, it was like, my parents were getting split up. It was kind of like a rough time for the fam. So, but, later on, I got into cafe racers, and that was like the thing that really got took to me. And then started racing Arma, and Harley just really were, I just didn't really know that many Harley people. Like my world was all, mostly metric stuff and racing. And that's where I met a lot of the guys that I know now. And when Fuel first started, that was like, it was kind of like a cafe racer kind of cafe. So it was all about that stuff. So we would like me and my friends, we all had, different kinds of bikes, but they all had like clip-ons and rear sets and bump seats and, quarter fairings and all that stuff. And so that's kind of the world that I came from.
Yeah.
And man, it was just so much fun going to shows and, riding our motorcycles and working on them. And I've never been that good at working on stuff. My friends just like laugh because they know that I'm kind of a shit mechanic. I can like lace a wheel and I can do basic stuff, but I'm not like a builder or fabricator at all. So I always like relied on my friends for that, but we always had a good time. I'd always bring the beer. So.
Yeah.
But I remember this one time when I remember this band Zeke.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Zeke. Yeah, I love Zeke. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one time we went to, they were playing in our town. This was probably like 96. And they were playing in our town and we got our bikes and we like rode to the show and like we were just, like the whole 2 weeks before we were just like so hyped and like listening to music and just like so pumped on like all the, all the motorcycle like nomenclature that they had on their record covers and stuff.
Yeah,
and we were
they had a song called "God of GSXR."
God of GSXR.
yeah.
And we were just like so excited. I remember like we got to the show and like the band was in there and like in the bar like drinking and we got introduced to those guys and like started talking and we were just like rapid firing questions at them like, what about this? And you guys know about Kenny Roberts and blah, blah, blah. How do you know about GSXRs? And they were just like, dude, you guys are like way too stoked. Just hold on. We're like a rock and roll band. Like the motorcycle stuff's cool, but like we're into the music part of it. And we're just like, oh, okay. So they were great and super fun, but they were like a little bit overwhelmed on like how stoked we were. But they were so great, man. That was such an epic band. And I loved all the like the motorcycle art that was on the covers and stuff. They were awesome.
Yeah, they were like just like a motorheady, gritty punk rock. When I say motorheady, I'm not talking about the band Motorhead. I'm talking about they would just talked a lot about like motor shit, like cars and bikes and shit. And, but what I always liked about Zeke was like they were a band you couldn't really define what they were because you couldn't say. They were like a little too. They were too fast to be a punk band, but they weren't really a hardcore band, and they weren't a metal band. They were just, but they were one of those bands they could play with anybody. That's what was great.
Exactly.
Like,
and they had long hair, and and it was like, they were great. I really loved them.
Basically, they were like, if you haven't listened to Zeke, just grab a Motorhead record, and instead of playing it on 33, play it on 45, and then it's like that's pretty much what you're gonna get. You know what I mean?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
But yeah, no. That I was just talking to someone about them the other day. I was like, man, I wish that's a band I wish was still around because I'd love to book them at like one of the shows. Oh
man, wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, to have a band like that, just like a whole bunch of motorcycle bands play. There's that guy that does Motorcycle Magazine up in Vancouver. I was just bragging about how I still remember people's names and now Norman. Do you know that? You know that?
Oh
magazine?
Yeah. Motorcycle.
Yeah, Motorcycle.
Yeah. I haven't seen one of those in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's still doing them.
Oh, that's cool.
And he's got a band and what are they called? And we've been talking about getting him to come down and play at Mama Tried. I gotta remember that. Maybe we'll put that together. See if we can get Zeke to come out of retirement.
Fuck yeah! Hey, before we get too far away from it, I just got a question to go back to like when you and your brother got that brand new bike.
All right.
Now, this is going to be a testament to you and your brother's bond. Like, how did that work, man? I could see that either like worked out like great, or like I could just see like many fist fights about like who's got the bike, or did you guys come out to like a schedule like who's got it when, or like how did that work?
Yeah, we did. I don't remember ever fighting with him about it. I don't remember ever getting into a fight with him about like whose day it was or who gets it for like this amount of time or anything like that. I really don't remember.
That's cool. Yeah.
We did get along. I think my dad probably gave us listen, you guys are going to share this thing, and if you fight about it, like I'm going to take it away. So I'm sure there was that, the dad being dad.
Yeah.
But I think that my brother and I have always been super tight, and my brother he's still into bikes. Like he's just as much into bikes, if not more, than I am. He he got into racing Arma. We got into it separately. He got into it before me. He started racing Hondas. I was like racing a Ducati single. That was a nightmare. And so I bought his Honda 350 and started racing that.
Cool.
And then he got into two-stroke Yamahas, and that's pretty much been his thing. And he's road raced like vintage two-stroke Yamahas forever.
That's awesome.
And yeah, and then he last couple of years has gotten super into dirt bikes, and I had kind of gotten out of it for a while. And in fact, I just bought a KTM from him this year, and I have not ridden it. So just I don't know how or why it's just been too crazy. Just like it's weird with the pandemic. It's like it's almost like I know a lot of people were searching for things to do, but man, I've had more to do in the last 2 years than I had to do in the years before.
Oh no, I get it. Yeah, so. No, dude, like I get it 100%. I never stopped. I didn't have a single day off. You know what I mean? I had COVID and I still came to the shop because I had no choice. You know what I mean? I just kicked everyone else out and locked the door and told UPS to leave the packages outside. You know?
Oh man.
But it wasn't that bad for me. I know everyone experiences it different, so it's just whatever. Yeah, it was like a bad head cold
That's
for
good.
me. It was just a bad head cold, and I was like,
good.
whatever.
Good.
But yeah, dude. So
yeah, well, my brother and I are super tight. So anyway,
awesome.
we still talk all the time and go on rides together and go snowboarding together. So
did you grow up in Milwaukee?
Yeah, we grew up like right outside of Milwaukee in a town called Menominee Falls.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, it was great. And the other cool thing back then was it might be harder for kids now, even if you were like a kid growing up where I grew up. And having a dirt bike could be a lot harder to ride than. Because when we were growing up, and this was in the late 70s, early 80s, there were still just farmers' fields, and like you could just rip around, and it's not like the farmers were welcoming you onto their property, but we tried to be respectful and not like ride through the fields, just ride on the edges. But still, they'd come out and shoot like shotguns with packs of salt at us, and like they'd get super pissed. But you couldn't do that stuff nowadays, like yeah. Well, maybe now you can. Maybe now with like the 12 o'clock boys thing where it's like, I kind of feel like cops are kind of throwing up their hands about, people riding dirt bikes and mini bikes. And cause like what now is a motorcycle and what isn't, right? They got these electric bicycles that go as fast as motorcycles. And people riding those one wheel things and
there's a lot of wacky things on the road nowadays. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of it is people trying to skirt like registration and insurance and shit. You know what I mean? Like weird little like 1cc less than whatever the whatever your local laws are for when things have to be registered and stuff. Like there's a lot of that,
exactly.
Especially in the city.
And I'm sure,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's just so much of that. So I'm sure the cops are just like, okay, I don't even know what to do. I look the other way.
I know during the pandemic that there was like do not chase like orders, so kids were going fucking wild in the city, like you know what I mean? Because they were like, "Fuck you, I know you ain't chasing me, so whatever." You know what I mean? Like so.
Wow.
But it was it was obviously it was a little wild style. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, what got you into cafe racers and so just and especially like so. If you haven't ever, like, I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying this is to the general listenership. If you haven't spent any time in Milwaukee, the first time I ever went to Milwaukee was for Harley's 100th anniversary party, and it was fucking bananas.
All right.
But what I realized then is that Milwaukee's a city that's economy is based on like beer and motorcycles, so it's very hard to have a bad time or a hard time like in Milwaukee, like you know what I mean? It's like everything's so fun, and I just remember going to all these different bars like with guys like Milwaukee Mike and all them guys. They were bringing me around to like what was that place called, like the Power Plant or something, where the dude just had a chopper up like hanging up in the building. And I was like,
Power Plant.
The Power Plant. I was like, this place is so fucking rad, like meaning Milwaukee, like I was like, everything's just fucking motorcycles and beer, like it's fucking rad.
I know,
but and I went to Fuel, your Fuel Café, and so like, and I thought that was fucking rad. And they just kept bringing me to spots, and I'm like, there's like a never ending like motorcycle. Not even motorcycle related, but like motorcycle based economy going on. All these bars are like a motorcycle themed stuff, and people are on bikes everywhere. And it's generally a fun and welcoming town. Like everybody was cool, like and
Completely. Yeah, it is a really good town, and it is like so full of motorcycle culture.
Yeah.
There's, even, I mean, I don't really want to even say this out loud, but it's like if you're riding on a Harley in town and you're raising hell and you're having a good time and as long as you're not fucking up too bad and like ruining someone's day and being a total douchebag, like the cops are pretty much just if you're getting wild enough for them to have to pull you over.
Yeah, you're really out of control.
Yeah, you're really out of control, and they're probably just going to say like, "Look, man, you need to turn it down. You need to turn it down and just go home."
Yeah,
and guys will come in from out of town, and like we'll be, we're doing some wild shit, and then we'll get pulled over, and they'll be like, "Wow, oh shit, man, are we fucking?" I'm like, "Nah, it's cool, And then the cops will be like, "They're like, what the fuck, you guys? Like, are you serious? Like, you can't be like ripping around." Like doing donuts in this property. This is not do you guys own this? And they're like, no. And they're like, well, what are you doing here? You're just like, we're just having a good time. And they're just like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Where like other towns, they'll just start writing tickets, and we're really lucky. The cops here, if you're on a motorcycle, especially if you're on a Harley Davidson. I mean, I've had opposite experiences. I've been with people pulled over, and if you're riding not a Harley Davidson, they'll give you all kinds of hassle.
Wow, that's weird.
But I've also been, I've been pulled over for speeding on my BMW Cafe Racer, and cop, just been like, dude, you guys are going way too fast. I'm going to write you a ticket for 20 over because I'm a motorcycle person too. But like, please don't make me have to show up to like, don't fight this ticket. Like, you're going like 70 miles and over the speed limit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's actually at that point when you go double the speed limit or whatever, it's like driving to endanger or something. It's like a whole
exactly. They're like, I should be impounding your bike right now. So just so yeah, the cops for the most part are pretty cool. I know it's different and it has been if you're not white, and we don't need to go into all that stuff. But I know it's a way different experience.
Yeah.
And but when we're ripping around here, when you're on, I guess the point is like when you're on a bike, you kind of get a pass. And I think that's cool.
But I mean, because you got to look at one of the biggest, it's the headquarters for, one of the bigger motor companies there is. So, with a lot of history there. But, dude.
Yeah, and that was always a surprise to me when it first happened because people used to say that to me and then I would just be like, no, that can't be true. And then, it is true.
Yeah. So. Dude, I remember it'd be like, I got off the plane. We got on they had a bike for me, but it was like a little red Triumph 500 Cafe Racer. And we got so obliterated and we're just ripping around. And so this isn't this is fucking 20 years ago or something, 15 years ago. So like don't I'm not saying this as a cool thing or to don't do this. Like, you know what I mean? Just telling people that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just remember getting off and I had the time of my life, like getting off the plane. These guys, we just go drinking fucking hard. And then I'm on this little Triumph 500 and I'm trying to keep up with all these dudes on like fucking twin cams and shit or like fucking, at least Evos, whatever. And I'm like, or on the highway, I'm like, I don't know where the fuck I'm going. And just like, I'm a fucking Hammond. I don't know. I'm on this fucking, not my bike, pinning it because it's a 500 and I'm not a small dude. And it was just, but I never had so much fun. But we went to a show. It was a band called Nebula, and it's like I think one of the dudes from Fu Manchu, and it was just fucking good times, man. I always have a soft spot in my heart for Milwaukee because it's always been like fucking rad times there. Like I've never had it's never been a bummer to go to Milwaukee.
Good. Lots of good people here. It's great.
And that's why I got so stoked when Mama Tried came out and about because it was because I'm going to be quite honest, it's hard for me to justify going, like I don't, as a business owner, it's hard for me to get out, right? Yeah. But if I go to a bike show, then it's like I'm working, and then it's my excuse to go. Like if in my own head, like it's like, all right, I can justify going if I'm bringing a bike or showing a bike or just even going to film or something. And then it's like, okay, this is work too, and then I can justify it. But then we cut loose at night. You know what I mean? I don't and so
like your style, Truth.
I was like, all right, now I got a reason to go to Milwaukee like more often. You know what I mean? Fuck yeah, man.
Cool.
And even
Are you coming for this one?
I can't make this one, but you're doing another one in March though, right?
In March.
Yeah. I'll be at the March one.
Cool. We haven't really announced it yet, but
shit! Did I just fucking? I can take
no,
this.
No, not at all.
I can cut this out. I can cut this. I can cut this out.
No, not at all. We just haven't like formally announced it because it's just a lot to manage. Just trying to get this one sorted before you just like start, going off at the trumpet about the next one that you're doing. So, but we're trying to get back on that February, March schedule that we're usually on, and take a chance to get back on the ice again and do all that stuff. So yeah. But this December one, we had to take this. The reason we're doing it in December this year and then doing one right away in March is because it was like January of 2021, and I think that and it might even been before that, but they were trying to put the NBA schedule back together, and because the Fiserv is owned by the Bucks, we kind of get last dibs on dates, and they said like, look, these are the dates. We have like 3 dates open within the next year and a half. Like you got to pick one, otherwise like that's going to be it. And we were like, okay, well, we'll take December 3rd and we'll take March 4th. And they're like, cool. And also like the other thing was with them was we never got to do, it was going to be our first time in March of 2020 when everything got canceled. That was our first time at the Fiserv. It was a brand new arena, and we hadn't worked with them before. We'd always done it at like the Panther Arena, which is like where the Admirals hockey team plays, or and it was the old arena where the Bucks played, which is the Bradley Center, but that got torn down to bring in a new one. So we were like, we want to be team players, and so we're like, okay, cool, we'll take those dates like that. Like we had a ton of choice, and they've always been super cool with us. So that's just kind of how it worked out being in December. Because I know it's like throwing a lot of people like, wait, what? There's a show in December?
Yeah.
So that's sort of the reason why. So
sure.
But it's cool to have the opportunity to be able to do it.
Fuck yeah, man. Well, this is probably a good point. Just why don't you talk a little bit about the show itself, Mama Tried, and like the origins of it, and what you got going on this year and everything, and give the actual dates out. Obviously, we'll put all this stuff in the show notes too, so everyone listening, you don't have to remember all this, but we'll put all the important links and stuff in the show notes. But yeah, I'm sure I would love to hear a little bit of the history of it and like how you guys got it all together and everything, because it's one of the coolest shows out there. And I'm not blowing smoke. I wouldn't have you on if I didn't think so. You know what I mean? Like I've always respected that show and just the hustle, man. Because as a guy who puts on shows, I'm like, I can't even imagine what it's like when you're dealing with fucking arenas to set up racing. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Milwaukee's probably a little different, but I just see all the fucking weird liability and fucking all the bullshit that you guys must have to fucking navigate to even be able to put all the work you got to do to be able to put on the show. Never mind the work of actually doing the show. Like all the, the work of just being allowed to do it must be fucking crazy,
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a bit much, but now that we're over the hump, it was the hardest thing with, like, speaking to that, like the hardest thing about getting Mama Tried off the ground was going to these arenas and saying to people, okay, we want to do this indoor motorcycle race. And they're like, and then they're like, so you're going to truck in dirt? Like, no, we're just going to spray this, like, this Coke syrup on the floor. And they're just like, what? and they're like, well, how do we clean that? And then their second question is, how do we clean that up? And then you're like, oh, you just hose it down, like, or just run one of those Zambonis over it. They're just like, yeah, okay. And I was like, and we were like, no, seriously, like, and we were talking out of our ass because we didn't really know. That's just what we'd heard. We had talked to these guys in the Dakotas like a couple of years before who were putting on an indoor race, and they're like, yeah, that's how you do it, and that's how you clean it up, and it's really simple. And so the hardest part was really convincing these arenas to to let us do it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that's tough is like for anyone who's like ever worked as a roadie or, you know, in a touring band, it's, you know, there's enough happening with like trying to put up a stage and put up all the lights and the gear and, you know, get all the different bands to, you know, work through their schedule. This is like you're bringing in, you know, anywhere between 250 and like, I think at the most we ever had was like 340 motorcycle racers, like into the bowels of an arena that's not really set up for that. You know, it's really set up to like store gear, you know, it's got a big loading dock and that's kind of about it. And so you're stuffing all these people in the nooks and crannies and telling them that they can't bring their pop-up tents, you know, and like, don't bring a ton of stuff and don't bring a ton of gas because you got to fill up outside. Like just fill up your bike before you get there. And, you know, don't bring a ton of tools and, you know, you're only going to get a couple feet and people are just like, what? And so that's like the mayhem of like what happens underground.
Yeah.
Like, you know, underneath the seats of the arena, that's like where that's the craziness under there. Cause it's just, it's bananas, you know, many people, that many motorcycles, everyone's tuning up and like getting them started and trying to, you know, get towards the track entrance and then come off the track and trying to run that like a, you know, like a fine-tuned machine. That's like, it's hilarious, but Jeremy does a great job. He's got a great crew and, everybody, you know, it is a really fine-tuned machine and it runs great. But
and just to compound it, so people understand, at the same time, you got a motorcycle show happening the next day, and you got to start getting everyone loaded in for that. So you got all these guys bringing the custom bikes in for the show. You know what I mean? So it's just like you know, like you think the race is enough. The next day you probably just want to chill, but you're like, oh no, now we got to do the main event. You know, and the main show. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah, it's a lot. It just turns into a marathon. I mean, it's a super good time, and that's why we love doing it. But it can be, you know, it can be a lot. I mean, it's just, but you know, we have great people helping us out, and everyone's so stoked, and that's what keeps that's what keeps us doing it. And now that we have this great, you know, the place where we have the show at the rave, it's like an old ballroom that was built for like big band music, and huge dances. Like it was built at the turn of the century, so. It's, you know, it's this open span circular ballroom for anyone who hasn't been there. There's not really many of these things left around the country anymore. And the acoustics are great. And it's, you know, it's meant to be, to just amplify, you know, unamplified music was before they had, you know, amplifiers and stuff. So it's meant to be like a big echo chamber for bands. And now they still have shows there. They have like a bunch of different rooms and a bunch of different stages. And this place is like a music venue, and they'll do, you know, I think they said one time, this is pre-COVID, but I think they said that they do like almost 600 shows a year.
Yeah.
So they'll do multiple shows.
It's actually a famous venue on the music circuit. I know a lot of people that if you mention Milwaukee, they pop that up right away. And I know.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I think this is like maybe 20 years ago. Motorhead did a tour, and I think they played there, and because it was like Motorhead and Dropkick Murphys when Dropkick Murphys was like first when they were young, and my buddy Packer was like a roadie on that thing, and I think when we went to Mama Tried, the last one I went to, he came with me and he's like, I think this is where we played with Motorhead, you know, and stuff, and that's awesome. Yeah, you know, because he
and there's a famous because it used to be like it was an Eagles club, so it was sort of like a men's Masonic, you know, lodge kind of like club, and it was like an athletic club. And there's a it's empty now, but there's a beautiful mosaic tiled pool in the basement, and with these like sight glass windows from the side, and it's so epic. I mean, it's dry because it won't hold water anymore because it's 100 years old, but it's a really, really beautiful room, and all the people that work there and run the place are super epic. They're so helpful. Great place to have the show. So anyway, that's where we are now. So that's December 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So Flat Out Friday is on a Friday night, December 3rd, and then Mama Tried is the 4th and 5th, the Saturday and Sunday.
Nice.
So if you're in Milwaukee or in the area, come on by and check it out.
Yeah, even if you're not in the area, get yourself to the area, because it's worthwhile, especially if you've never been before. Um, and but how did? Why don't you give a little bit more about the history of the show, like how it came about and kind of what the, you know, not the philosophy, but like why you
Yeah.
guys
But
decided to do
yeah,
a show, like what you wanted to do with it and stuff.
yeah. Well, when we, like you were saying before, like when you would come to town, like when you came to town for the 100th and, you know, hanging out with Milwaukee Mike, and there's just a huge multifaceted motorcycle scene in the city. You know, there's like the Harley people, the cafe racer guys. You know, there's like the British guys. You know, there's all the guys who just ride all the old stuff. There's just this, you know, really super multifaceted motorcycle scene in Milwaukee. And so I used to do when Fuel Café was open on Center Street. Um, we did an outdoor motorcycle festival called Rocker Box, and we did that for 10 years
Yeah,
until it just kind of boiled over its footprint. You know, it started at one block and it was two blocks, and then pretty soon it was like, you know, 6 blocks long, and it was just packed, and just, it was ride in, like just bring whatever and party, and we had bands, and it was just like this just raw, like loud, raucous, like, you know, just, it was just, and it was in River West, this neighborhood that you could get away with that kind of shit. You know, people selling beer from their porches, and everybody in the neighborhood getting into it. Even if you're not into bikes, it just became this massive street party. And by the end of it, it was just out of control. And I was just afraid that someone was going to get killed and I was going to
yeah,
lose everything. So I decided that was going to be the last year of it. And then I had made friends with Warren, and I was starting to learn about choppers, and I was really getting into choppers and Harley Davidsons, and I was like, man, this stuff is so cool. You know, we should do it, because he was always bugging me, like, I was always asking him about chopper stuff, and he was always asking me about like flat track stuff and like racing stuff and road and armor road racing, and like, what about this, and like, how about this, and like, would this bike work, and could you do this? And I'm always like answering his questions with more questions about like, how do you run big long forks like that, and like, how do you do it without suspension, and like, you know, just super
yeah, yeah.
rudimentary dumb stuff like that. And so we got to be really good friends. And then I was like, let's do an invitational show, like inside, you know, where we can, you know, curate like all the bikes, like have race bikes and have choppers. He's like, that's a stupid idea. Bike shows are lame. Like, I don't want to do a bike show. I was like, no, man, like we'll do it like the kind of stuff that we like, you know, like tons of race bikes and hill climbers and drag race bikes and, you know, flat track stuff and like all the stuff that people, you know, so here's the philosophy.
Yeah.
When you're a racer, and when you're around racing stuff, like the same skill set, because you own a shop and you build choppers, so you understand this. Like the same skill set that you need to build a street bike. It's the racer guys have that same skill set. It's just applied in a totally different way.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're machining your own parts. You're porting your engines. You know, like if you can't find things, you got to make them yourself. You're like altering the geometry on the bikes, like putting wheels on it that aren't supposed to be on it.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff. And so
the focus is a little different, but you know, it's like the same thing, but with the race stuff, it's your focus is for speed and for, you know, to get that competitive edge. Whereas for the custom scene, it's like just to do like, it's more cosmetic or cool, like it's less performance stuff. There is performance parts of that
there
too.
Is performance,
but you know, a lot of it is like the cosmetic
the
stuff.
application's just a lot different, you know, like what it's for. And so I always just wanted, you know, because I would always go to these races and just see these bikes that were like so gorgeous, but you know, they were just in the pits. Someone would pull it out of their truck, set it up in their pits, race it, and just put it back in their truck and drive home. And no one would really ever see it besides that guy's neighbors or the people that he raced with.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, people got to see this stuff, you know? And so that was the kind of the abiding idea. And Warren, like he kept pushing back, like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this. Bike shows are lame. This is stupid. You know, like I hate bike shows. And then finally I convinced them. And then, you know, that's how we put together the first one. And then Jeremy, he and I were good friends because he lived in the neighborhood where Fuel was, and he used to come in there all the time with Dave Kilkenny and a bunch of other guys, like motorcycle guys, and they would hang out and drink coffee and smoke cigarettes. And they were in bands, and then Jeremy and I were in a band together, and it's just that whole scene. And then his kid got into flat track racing, and Jeremy really wanted to promote. He's kind of a born promoter. He runs a hockey league. He runs a 24-hour bicycle race that it's in River West, and he's just like that guy. He just loves organizing chaos, and
and that's where he probably built his chops for giving inspirational talks to the hockey league and the other things.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like a high school teacher, so it's like he's not afraid to stand up in front of an unruly crowd, and tell them like what it's all about. So that's kind of how it started. He was like, I really want to. For years, he's been saying like, I really want to promote a motorcycle race. I really want to do something indoors. And he had been talking about, maybe doing something at State Fair, trucking in dirt or doing an ice race. And then when we decided to do Mama Tried, we started talking about doing flat out, he was like, hey, what about like doing a motorcycle race as part of it? And I was like, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And so that's how it all came together. So that's how the three of us started to work together. So that's the short version.
And what's
long version
this year? I know that obviously the lockdown period was a bust for everybody. What number Mama Tried is this coming up in December?
I think this will be the 7th.
Yeah,
because I think it would have been the 7th. So I think that in 2020 it would have been the 7th. So I think this one's the 7th. I'm pretty sure. Somebody just asked me that the other day. I'm pretty sure it's the 7th.
Yeah. After the third or fourth one, they just blend together.
yeah, kind of. Well, and it's like I remember by which buildings that they were in because we moved around quite a bit, and so until we found like our permanent home at the rave, so we were pretty lucky to have that. I know a lot of people miss the old warehouse vibe, which fucking Lowbrow nailed at Fuel Cleveland. Like I walked into that space and I was like, oh man, this just feels like old school Mama Tried. That it was like such a cool building and with the elevator and like that was just I loved it. It was such a great like we can't claim any credit for it because I'm sure people have done it before that too. But it's just like something about having like old bikes in a warehouse environment like that is just like in those old buildings. It's just such a
it's fucking rad, dude.
So good.
No, yeah, 100%. Like it just is like right. You're like, all right.
There's something about that's just so right. It's great. Born Free is great too. Just like set up in California and everything outside. And I like outdoor bike shows too, and because you can ride to them, and that's a blast too. So I'm not taking anything away from that because I love that stuff too. I mean, I love them all, but sometimes like something inside of a warehouse is just like perfect. Maybe that just appeals to like the Midwestern sensibility.
Yeah, I mean but the thing is, I say this in jest, and my California friends can fuck with me afterwards. They're nice weather people. They ain't fucking used to having to be inside in the winter and shit, so they don't fucking get, they ain't working in factories and shit. You know what I mean? Like we gotta do, like,
exactly.
But yeah, you can have your outdoor shows out there, and then in December. If you guys want to I'm just kidding. No one's ever bitched about having an outside show in December in the Midwest or in the Northeast, right? So, we got to do them inside. You know what I mean? And we're not going to do shows in the summer because we're too busy actually getting the 3 months of riding in that we can get in. We ain't trying. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And there's so much other stuff going on every summer. It's like everybody packs all their fun into like the 3 months of nice weather outside. So it's like. Birthday parties and baseball games and like going up north and like just like everything. It's just every weekend is packed with like 8 different things. And
I know.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
It's enough as it is.
But that what I do get jealous of is that like when I was young, there was space like that around here, and like even when I had old bands, we'd rent rooms and old like factories and warehouses, and none of that's
Right.
around in the Northeast anymore.
No.
I mean, like Boston, dude, like like a studio or 1-bedroom apartment is $2,500. So like, I'm like, I ain't gonna ever find 50,000 square foot fucking space that I could use. You know what I mean? Fucking
Yeah.
we
Damn.
That's why we did our show like at the fairgrounds, and then did the pre-party on the Battleship, and that was our little different flavor. But
that's cool.
This year, was obviously it's we're going to bring Full Speed Ahead back next year. We just couldn't do it this year. There was just the venue that we used was a fairground, became a parking lot for Amazon Prime trucks. So like we ain't competing with Amazon for that fucking space. Like they canceled their fair that they do there, so they're not giving us a.
They're not gonna open it up just for you guys. Yeah.
I don't think they want to piss Amazon off like that, but whatever. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
But fuck yeah, dude. Like so much work goes into these shows. I've always respected the hustle and like how well everything flows at Mama Tried. Like it's just like I don't think I've ever told you that when we've sat, when we've had a chance to sit together, but like I just wanted to, I always like to give respect where respect due. It goes so seamless, but I know it goes so seamless because of the work that is behind it. So, I definitely appreciate that from someone that does shows and is involved in the industry and is also still loves being in places as a participant or just like a, attendee. So, on all of it, you guys got it dialed in good, dude. And I always look forward to it. Like, cause there was a year I went just, there was a couple times I think I went where I just went, you know what I mean? And didn't have a bike or didn't set up or anything. And it was always it's always a good time, man.
Well, thanks, dude. Dude, one of my favorite memories of all the years we've been doing is that night that you and I and Nick, and remember we were at the Palomino.
Yeah.
And we were loaded. I mean, I was loaded. It was like the Saturday night of the show. You and I and Nick Simich, and who else was there?
I'm trying to
there was a dude from Alabama, and I don't know, we were sitting around and telling stories and fucking laughing, and I just had like the best time just sitting there and just like, just sitting with you guys and like having fun and not having to walk around and shake hands and meet people. That's super fun too. I really love that. But just being able to sit down with like a couple, few cool people and
that's what it was. There was Nick from California, you from the Midwest, me from Northeast, like you said, the Alabama guys, like, whoever's around and, just sitting and shooting the shit and talking at a different level. That's always part of the fun too and there's, that's one of the best things about the events too, is like the after parties where you can you're not working anymore. Like you kind of still are, but you're not, you know what I mean? You can relax a little and actually have a, more fun with friends and hang and that's important, and
exactly.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Anything different planned this year for this year's? I know you got kind of two coming up in a row, but like
well, I mean, it's parties, real quick. Like the parties start on Wednesday. There's now we have like this World Series of Boonie Bike racing. So, it's called the Boonie Bike World Series. And so it starts Wednesday at this bar and there's like a race. And then there's races on Thursday. That's at the Harley Davidson Museum. And that's a really good time. They're great over there. And then there's an after party, at Fuel, and there's that's always off the hook. There was that guy that jumped that bike off the bar, and people people ride motorcycles inside the bar and stuff. So that's always crazy. Then Friday's the race, and then there's an after party at Boone and Crockett with a bunch of bands. I'm trying to think what else is new. Then Saturday's the show, and Saturday night the after party is at the Iron Horse Hotel. I don't know if you've been over there. That's kind of near Fuel, kind of between Fuel and the Harley Davidson Museum. That's really cool.
Yeah, and, I remember I went over there. I didn't stay there, but they were like. I remember I think they hit me up even ahead of time. We're like, oh, we're going to be doing stuff here if you want to stay over here. And I'd already had reservations or something. And
right.
But I think we stopped in there the last time. It was a cool spot for sure.
Yeah, super cool spot. Super cool spot. And it's sort of, it was like one of the first boutique hotels in the city, and it has like a motorcycle vibe, and they built it over there sort of like when the museum first got built. And yeah, it's great people work there and run it, and it's awesome. So you're gonna have an after party there, and then Sunday's the show, and then the show closes early on Sunday. Sunday's like one of my favorite days of the show because it's kind of like being at church. It's like it's a lot quieter, the vibe's a lot more chill. We're still playing music, but like that sun's kind of streaming in. There's like an eighth of the amount of people in there. You can really get up close to the bikes and like hang out. All the photographers really early in the morning come in and like shoot everything, and then Sunday's just like a nice, cool, chill day, and then wraps up at 3. Everybody unloads. It's kind of a race because there's one teeny little elevator in that building, and it's like it's seriously like 4 by 8. It's insane.
Oh, I know.
and then everything lets out, and then that's kind of it. And then we have kind of a wrap party at the Iron Horse again, where it's like kind of dinner for like the core group, but there's always some people that stay the extra day, and a lot of people who stay there, so they come and we all have like kind of like a smaller, more intimate party in the bar, and that's a really good time. So, man. You're invited for any and all of that. I know you can't come this year, but you'll be coming in March, hopefully. So we'd love to have you back out.
Yeah, fuck yeah. So, man. Dude, this is just as an aside, and this is not a complaint, but it's just more of a funny memory. That's why when you were saying, oh yeah, the loadout on Sundays, a small elevator. So Saturday, the last time I was at Mama Tried, me and Packer, my buddy that came with me, we started drinking at noon, and we stopped at about 5 a.m. And so we drink from noon to 5 a.m. And then we get to the show the next day, Sunday, and we had to unload. And I've never been this hungover in my life. Like, I was like literally shaking and shit. And I was like, we had to take the booth down. And, like the elevator, I knew it was going to be a mess. So we're like, fuck. And we had to walk down all those flights of stairs carrying all the merch, like, crates full of T-shirts, and my legs were so shaky. I was like, God damn it, I could never do this again. I was laughing my ass. It's fucking funny now, dude. Like, it's fucking hysterical, but it's the
worst.
Oh, dude, I was like,
actually happened.
I had like the shakes and the sweats, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna fall down this flight of stairs right now. Like, like I'd never been that hungover in my life, and I was like, fucking Milwaukee, man, always get you.
And then you got to get in your van and then drive all the way back, right?
Oh yeah,
Massachusetts.
Yeah. It was, we're used to it, but like it was just like going down all the stairs and then like, to the lot to bring the shit out to the van, and while we were waiting to get the bike on the elevator and everything, and I was just like, oh, whatever. It was just fucking hysterical though. Like I was like, but dude, I mean, that shit is impressive though when you stand up in those balcony areas and where all the vendors are set up, and you just look down at the show and just the array of different bikes and like how they're all set up. It's fucking, and just that room is fucking awesome, dude. Yeah. Like, and and I'm not doing this as a plug, but I don't even know if I've told you about this because I'm an idiot and I'm like the worst like fucking promoter about shit. But I filmed at Mama Tried 2 years, I think. It's either 1 or 2 years.
No way.
And it's on the Chop Ahead TV show that's on Tubi. So like if people haven't seen it, go to Tubi. It's free. It's like Netflix but free, and they maybe play like 1 or 2 ads before shit. And the first season of Chop Ahead TV is up on Tubi, and one of the episodes, there's a brief interview with Warren, and there's just like a whole walk around of like Mama Tried. Like I filmed in the morning before people really got there, but then filmed more when they're there. Filmed that Flat Out Friday and all that shit. So people check that out, and you kind of get more of an experience of what we're talking about here. And I'll let me look it up and send that to you too, like. Because
okay, I want to watch it. That'd be great.
Yeah,
that's cool, man.
I haven't like, what it is like I was making that for so long. I was making it for a couple of years because the DVD stuff we used to do that died. Like no one buys DVDs anymore. So we started making 20-something minute episodes and it was gonna be on another network thing, and I just didn't like it, and it was lame, and the deal they wanted to do, and so we just gave it to Tubi, and
that's cool. I've heard that name before, Tubi, but I've never been to check it out. But it's cool, huh?
It's basically like Netflix or Hulu or any of those things. So you can get it on a smart TV or your phone or like a gaming system or something, or your laptop or whatever. And it's a free app. They don't charge you for it. It's just you watch like maybe 2 ads before a show, and I think maybe every now and then they may cut a little ad in or something. But it's free for you. It's free. So
awesome.
And they got a ton of old. Of the old classic motorcycle movies on there, like so it's pretty cool. Or like all the old hot rod stuff, and Zach over at Chopper Town has all his stuff up there, and so there's a lot of cool content up there for free for people, and I don't have nothing to do with fucking Tubi. I'm not touting it. It's just
no, but it
cool.
Sounds like a cool platform to like have all that stuff.
Yeah. So
sounds rad.
But for anyone listening and you want to see the reason, go check it out. There's an episode with Mama Tried on it, and you'll look at it and you'll be like, yeah, dude, I definitely got to fucking get over there. Wherever you are, it's worth fucking flying if you can't ride or get there, any other way. I know it's fucking December in Milwaukee. You're probably not riding in. You're probably not riding in from too far away, but there are fucking crazy motherfuckers that will.
That will, yeah.
But
bring a warm coat.
Yeah.
Bring a warm coat.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember when REV came out like the first time from California, and he was so scared because someone had told him like, dude, it's like, they're like, it's cold. He's like, yeah, I know. He's like, no, like it's really cold. He's like, yeah, I know. He's like, no, dude, you'll die. Like you need to like if you're outside for more than 10 minutes, like you'll fucking die. So he shows up with this huge fucking parka.
I was there for that. I remember that. Cool. Like
and
so ridiculous.
Take it off all weekend.
Yeah.
He was so scared that he was going to get fucked up and like wander off and like end up dying of exposure outside. So he just like walked around in this fucking humongous like Antarctica researcher parka or whatever. And that was hilarious. I love that dude.
But it is. I like because Milwaukee's such a fun town. You could just wind up in an alley somewhere and get exposure. You have to be dressed for the occasion. You never know. Like
Yep. Well, and also like speaking of like nefarious stuff, because I like there's the Ambassador Hotel, which is across the street from the show. It was like the place where the what's his name, serial killer. Jeffrey Dahmer killed one of his victims in that hotel. I mean, it's since like totally remodeled the hotel and but if you go there, like the bartenders will tell you about it. It's like I think the room is like it's not like a room you can rent anymore. It's like a maintenance closet or something like that. But back in the day, if you're into that weirdo stuff,
if you like the shit angle. Heavy Clothing puts out, then you need to check out fucking the Ambassador Hotel.
Exactly.
That was the great thing about Cleveland. Like this was like one of the funnest at Fuel. This was one of the funnest shows to vend at because it was Heavy and us. And then the beer tent, like we were like, that was our little wing. You know what I mean? It was like, so it was like literally, nice. we just sat with like Bobby and Zach and fucking in the beer tent, like all weekend. It was like, it was the best.
Yeah. And just do the running commentary on everybody who walks by and say hi to everybody. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
So great.
And it was just like, I'm not wanting for anything. I can just look over at the beer guys and they're like, oh, here you go. And I'm like, fuck yeah, man.
Yep. Exactly.
But yeah, dude, what are you still? Do you still own Fuel? Like, or are you out of that or?
No, I'm still in it, and we did have to close the original one. It didn't make it through COVID, so
that sucks.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer, but it was 28 years we made it. So it was pretty good. It was a pretty good run. So I mean, I'm bummed, but it's it was going to happen sometime. Nothing lasts forever. So
sure, yeah.
And there's a bunch of really cool. New kids who are doing a thing over there, which I really dig a lot. It's called the Daily Bird. So it's still going to be a cafe, and it's still going to be run by people that are super stoked. So, it's a great what do you call, like,
Space.
yeah, it's just like, it's a great, it's cool that these guys have taken over the tradition and, of just, running a cool neighborhood spot. So
Cool.
River West is like, it kind of made us. So that's awesome. But yeah, the newer one, that one that's down by the Iron Horse and by the museum. Yep. We're still doing that. So
awesome.
So still keeping it alive.
Yeah, and so just because I know if you don't know what we're talking about, like not to be confusing with the Fuel Show in Cleveland, he has a bar cafe type called Fuel Café, which was always one of my haunts whenever I came into town because it was on that circuit of bars that I would always try and get to for sure.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I know. It's funny. It gets confusing with the Fuel name. I was listening to your podcast with Mikey Arnold and just like, I'm just so tuned into like hearing the word fuel. And it's like every time somebody says it, I'm just like, my ears kind of perk up in a different way.
Yeah, but sure. Yeah.
And I think it's, tons of respect for the Fuel Show. It's like, those guys are great. I love, everybody at Lowbrow. And it's always been an awesome show. That first year when they had it, when they were like that warehouse that they were in, and they had all those radiators all piled up, and they had the bikes displayed on top of the radiators. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
It was so cool. That was like one of my favorite memories. I love that.
That and I liked when they did it at the bike ramp, the bike park.
Oh yeah, at the Rays Mountain Bike Park.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
And I was telling that because cool. There'd be these weird ramps and stuff with just like a chopper on it or like an old cafe racer or something.
Yep.
And,
yep.
And that's one of the things, about like Mama Tried and a lot of the shows that I like the most is that it's, obviously I'm a chopper guy, but I'm beyond that, I'm a motorcycle guy, and I like all kinds of different things. And that's one of the beautiful things about these shows is that, like there'll be a lot of race bikes, there'll be like cafe races, or like, vintage classic, like, original bikes, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever. Like there's all kinds of different machines that have different purposes that are fucking rad. And, I like when it's not just one thing. Like, I don't need to see a row of 50 long bikes, even though if I saw each one of those bikes individually out somewhere, I'd be fucking stoked beyond belief. But I'm like, all right, there's no fucking long bike. Yeah, there's a fucking long bike. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, wait, there's a fucking Vincent. That's fucking rad. Or like, oh, shit, look at that fucking, look at that fucking Norvin or something fucking, or some weird fucking thing or something. You're like, fuck yeah, dude. And you look at that for a while, and especially things that you don't see a lot. And you get to look at it and see the details and stuff. Like, it's fucking rad, man.
Yeah, I like that too, when there's a good mix of stuff. And, and then also it's like, and if you're even, the other thing that like Warren and I share a philosophy, Jeremy too, is like, even if you're a really excellent dude and or woman, you like, I say dude, like just meaning people, but if you're a really excellent person and you're like a great rider, maybe your bike isn't like, like I'm doing the finger quotes, like quote unquote, like a show bike.
Yeah.
You'll still get invited. I mean, I'm sure that sometimes people will walk through and be like, why is that bike here? It's like, it's maybe if it was on the street in front of a bar, you'd stop and look at it, but like in the midst of a show, it's not super exceptional. But, the reason that those bikes are there is because the person who owns it is like an exceptional human being. And, having their personality be part of the show and meeting people and, going to the parties or whatever it is that they bring to the vibe of the event is just as important as the motorcycle, because I think that motorcycle shows, it's cool to have like awesome stuff there, but it's really the people too, it's really about the vibe. And like, when you walk into the room, it's like at Fuel Cleveland, like you walk into the room, you're just like, man, this is on. You can just feel like everybody was stoked, everybody's smiling. We've all been to shows where you're just like, man, this vibe is like weird. Everyone's like way too heavy here or something,
Yeah.
And we just don't want to, that's the thing we're trying not to do. So, and when there's so many bikes, it's like, it's easy for things to sort of get lost. Like your brain just gets like, your brain gets full of motorcycles really quick. And then it's like, you're going to, let's go get a beer. And then you're standing at the bar, and then all of a sudden the person next to you is like, start talking, you start hitting up a conversation, and suddenly you're great friends. Yeah. And then you're like, and then you're text messaging each other every time you come back into town so you can see each other, and that's what's rad about motorcycle shows for
Exactly.
us. Like that's, the bikes are great. And that is the whole thing, but like, it's not the whole thing.
No, the bikes are a catalyst to bring people that are like-minded together.
Yep. Exactly.
And what ends up happening is that you see, and this is no disrespect to anyone, but there's people that are in this that are tourists, and they're in for a little bit and then they're out, and they have a passing fancy, that's cool, whatever. As long as you're cool while you're here, But then there's people that you see that fucking really love this, and then guess what? Those are the motherfuckers you see every time at a lot of different shows and for years, and then you build friendships with people. All over the place that, is shared based on the bikes, you know what I mean? And that was what brought everyone together. And then you get stoked. I get just as stoked to like go check out bikes as be like, oh man, I can't wait to see these guys, you know what I mean? Or cause they're going to be there, and it's like, it's going to be fun. And yeah.
Yep, exactly. And that's how we met the guys from Brazil. They were coming up to Flat Out Friday and like in Mama Tried and flying up for the show because they were into it. And then Jeremy met them, and then they were like, "Oh, do you think you could get us some motorcycles to race?" And then they came up and they started racing, and then we went down and visited them and got to race motorcycles in this like racing in this flat track like scene that they have going on.
Oh, and yeah.
We just had a fucking blast, man. It was so cool. And now we're like such good friends with them, and we're gonna do a Mama Tried and a Flat Out Friday in Brazil in April.
Fuck yeah!
We haven't announced that yet. Either, but
yeah. See, listeners, you got two exclusives on this one. There's gonna be two Mama Tries. There's gonna be the December and the March one, and then coming to Brazil.
Gonna be one in Sao Paulo, and the people on there are just like they're like their whole friend scene down there is like just as rad as up here, and we had so much fun and everybody made friends, and now more of them are coming up. So a bunch of people that we race with now, they're coming up to race up here.
Fuck yeah, man.
And and so like they're gonna make more friends and then bring more of their friends down there. And it's just like I just love how all that shit just it's like a catalyst, and it just suddenly like the friends that you like that you met or like knew from years ago are just like they're hanging around with a whole different part of people in more. I don't know, it's just like it just these whole things just expand and expand and expand, and we just love watching all that stuff work. Of people hitting it off and partying together and having a good time, and then the friendships really lock in for years and years and years. And I don't know. That's like the best part. It's seriously the best part for me.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, dude. 100%. It's like it's hard to nail down because it's like there's so much that happens at these things, and I'm only touting this stuff because everyone. It's easy to get kind of like whatever, blah blah, But like everything's what you make of it, man. Like, and you kind of hit on this. Like, you go into some shows and it's got kind of like a weird, heavy vibe. Like, some shit about to pop off that I'm not privy to. You know what I mean? Or like people are like trying to be out cool each other or something, and you're like, all right, fuck this. Like, I'm here to have fucking fun and fucking enjoy fucking motorcycles and good times. Like, you like a lot of like the shows that we've mentioned are like fucking epicenters of that, you know what I mean? And so, like I just want people to go out to some of these things, especially if you listen to this, even if you're not super into bikes, like you're going to have a fucking good time. Like it's hard to have a bad time at these shows, unless you got some weird shit going on in life, some bad shit going on.
Yeah.
Like, even then you're going to forget about it for a little while.
You're going to forget about it. I was going to say, like, even then it's just going to make you forget about all the bad shit and make you just, renew your lease on life and how cool people can be. So
yeah, and all this shit is happening more so than ever, man. I'm seeing shit pop up all over the place, and you got to stop picking battles, because like I'm seeing shows start everywhere, and it's fucking cool. And
it is
like
cool.
Chances are there's some shit happening local to you. Get involved with that, and then come out to some of these bigger. I don't want to say regional shows or national shows, like, you know what I mean? Like, because, everyone knows about Daytona, Sturgis, Laconia, and those are cool, and they got their place. But there's these other shows, man, where shit's fucking, I don't know, to me, way more fun.
Yeah.
And I ain't shit on any of those big three shows, you know what I mean?
No, not at all.
But
not at
I
all.
mean, it's different vibe, like, you know what I mean? This is going to be where, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it. Like, we all know the difference, like, you know what I mean? Like, or like, but whatever, man.
Yep. I totally 100% agree. 100% agree.
And so, I encourage people to check shit out, man, because it's you ain't gonna. If you go and you have like a really shitty time, let me know, and I'll make it up to you personally if you go someplace. But don't lie, you know what I mean? I want to hear some compelling ass reason. I'll fucking pay for your hotel or something. You know what I mean? Like, but fucking go out, man.
Agreed.
And this is coming from me, and I'm one of the most antisocial motherfuckers that there is. Like,
really?
Oh, dude, like, it's different at a show. You know what I mean? Because it's like I'm around people that have very shared interests. But like, I go to my fucking tattoo shop, my motorcycle shop, and like a couple friends' houses, a couple of select bars, you know what I mean? And I don't like to be in the regular world that much. But when I'm at bike shows or whatever, even then, I'm usually off in a corner or something, you know what I mean, with friends. But like, I try to actively work on it and be more social at shows and stuff. But like,
me too.
And it's not like I'm like not a dick. I just have like weird like crowds. I'm like, fucking, whatever.
No, yeah, I think you're just like a super gregarious person. I figured I could like fly into Boston and just like the first person I ask at the airport, and they'd be like, I'm like, where's Big Truth's house? And they'd be able to tell me because you're, like you just have such a presence, that I just figured like you were just that outside person who's just everywhere all the time. So, but I feel you, man. I'm the same way. It's like especially as I get older, I'm a little bit more of a homebody than I used to be, and don't go out as much. But like, when I go to shows, like it's just like just light up.
Yeah, but as I say that, I just been out 3 nights in a row at the shows for the whatever. But I just mean more like regular mainstream like life. Like I'm not at a regular bar. I'll be at a punk show or like a fucking hardcore show or something, or a metal show or something, or like or a dive bar or something that's like a local one where, But I ain't gonna be at the sports pub watching Patriots, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not my thing. And I'm not slamming if that's your thing. I'm just saying. There's an ass for every seat. Yeah, that seat ain't for me at the fucking sports bar, right? That's all. But yeah, man, like, I just lost my train of thought because, dude, I just realized this when we were talking before. You're like, oh yeah, you said something about Gangrene. What the hell brought Gangrene up? And that's one of my favorite bands. That's why.
No way, really?
Yeah. Oh, dude, I had Gangrene play. They played Chopperhead's 5th anniversary party. I had Gangrene play. No way. And Bobby's old band, Solace, they played it too.
No way.
Yeah. We and it was the best. I think Statute of Limitations is up on this now. Gangrene did it for like, I had to, because Chris was living in Cleveland, so it was like literally, it was like $200 a flight for Chris and like cocaine. That was like what they wanted to play. And I don't think Gangrene's like, pretty much that's what you expect. Their first 7-inch had Gangrene written in fucking cocaine on a mirror. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no way.
Like, yeah. But yeah, awesome. So it's like, I'm not like, there's no slander here. Like, you know what I mean? But it was just
no.
But and that was one of the funnest shows, man. Like Gangrene, I don't know what it is. Like they're another one of those weird bands. Like, their first 7 inches and stuff were like way fucking old Boston hardcore, but like later on they just evolved in this like massive like skate punk fucking hardcore, like just fueled band. I don't know how to explain it other than that. Like fueled rock, just really fast.
They're still fun. Playing and they're still rocking, and are they still playing shows? They
played not too long ago, but I don't know how much they're playing that much. Unfortunately, we're all that age where like. And those guys are ahead of me, you know what I mean? Like people are getting older and getting into more health issues, and these dudes weren't living like the healthiest lives sometimes.
I can't even imagine.
You know what I mean? Like and
I can't even imagine.
But yeah,
they got to be like my age. I just turned 55, so it's like I can't even believe those words just came out of my mouth. But
yeah.
They got to be my age. But when I was younger, like I loved that band, listened to it all the time. So I was listening to the record. Just before this, because I was like, man, Boston, you know,
Yeah,
like, I don't know. Every time I'm talking to you, like listening to your accent, it just gets me all excited. Like, you know, put on that, like, this is Boston, not LA
Yeah.
record. And, you
Dude,
know,
I was for so many years I was trying to figure out a way to make a Chophead "This is Boston, not LA" shirt, like that would go over tongue in cheek. You know what I mean? Like, and
yeah,
I just never could get one together that like I like the artwork for. It's funny that you mentioned that. You know, um, and
it's so, it's so iconic. Like, how do you,
yeah,
there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. I'd buy that shirt for sure.
yeah. Well, you know, it's funny too because like at the Slapshot shows and stuff this weekend, they did shows with the original lineup with like John Anastas from DYS playing bass and stuff. So there was a lot of like real old school heads in the crowd. That was good to see. You would have dug this show.
Awesome.
You bringing up Boston, not LA. Then you would have dug this show that happened a few years ago when they did one of those. They did the American Hardcore and or was
Right, yeah, that movie.
Yeah, or they did a Boston one, and a lot of the old bands got together and like played, like DYS, FUs, Jerry's Kids, all that stuff. They all played, and it was a good time, man.
That's awesome.
That was years ago.
That's awesome.
But
yeah, those are some old names. Holy shit.
I know.
Were you in a band?
Yeah. I'm still in a band now. But yeah, I came in. I started going to shows in like 85, 86 when this is when I was still in like middle school. It was my first show was the summer between 8th grade and freshman year of high school. And it was, I've said this before on the podcast. So if I'm repeating myself, sorry, but it was Jerry's Kids and Suicidal Tendencies when they only had that first record. Like I got way more involved more in the late 80s and I had a band. My old band was called Intent to Injure. We only had a couple of records out.
Couple, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
7 inches, yeah, not full lengths. And we were on a bunch of comps and stuff. And then but the band I'm in now is with guys from Slapshot and our guitarist is also the guitarist for Agnostic Front now too. So
no way.
He's been in Agnostic Front for a while. So yeah.
Love those bands.
Yeah.
Love those bands.
Yeah, so
that rules.
Yeah, it's hard for us to play because, you know, we're all busy for doing different things and they're in, you know, before COVID, I think Agnostic Front still was doing like 200 something shows a year. So they were fucking super active and they're coming back this year. 2022 they'll be back on the road a lot. Yeah, so
that's killer.
That's
cool that they're still doing it.
Oh yeah, they're fucking diehards, dude. They're lifers, you know.
That's awesome.
You should. Did you see that documentary, The Godfathers of Hardcore?
No.
You would dig that. My boy Ian did it, and it's winning. It won all kinds of things, but actually Showtime bought it, and they were playing it on Showtime. Way. Yeah, because it's a documentary. But the band isn't. It's not about the band. It's about Roger and Vinny and their relationship, and you know, and like being in a band together for so many decades and whatnot. And it gets into
when did it come out?
Came out like last year now, or maybe a year and a half ago. Dude, so full disclosure, like for me, time, it's so hard for me to like, I'm like, I could say something came out 2 years ago and it might've been like 2 months ago or like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I'm bad with time. I'm like, it came out. I think it came out last year, a year and a half ago or something, 2 years ago or something. But yeah, it's hard for me because like, Ian, the guy who made it is a really good friend of mine. And so, you know, I was kind of like, I saw it in every stage of development, and I saw all the first rough cuts of it and all that stuff. So it's been like it was in the making for a few years, but it did the whole show circuit, and it was on Showtime, and Showtime bought it as a Showtime original.
Cool.
So it's fucking weird, man. Like it was just weird. You could turn on TV and like you just. I'd see like my boys, you know what I mean? I'm like, it like legitimized it. But I think you would dig it because it's a story more about the people and not the band. You know, it wasn't like behind the scenes of a making of a band. Angle. It's like literally you could show it to, you know, your mom who doesn't even like punk rock or anything, and she would be interested in the movie as a story, you know?
Yeah.
That type of thing. So it's got a general appeal. Do you still have? Do you have like a Blu-ray player or anything? I think I have a Blu-ray. I can send it to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, can you get it? Like, can you get it on you like rent it on YouTube or on Amazon or anything like that?
Oh, I'm sure.
Or just on yeah.
I'm sure you can.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll rent it.
I'll text you later the stuff for it, but I think you'd really dig it. You know what I mean? Given
fuck yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I love that stuff. I love music documentaries. I can't get enough of them.
It's the same with me, dude. I will watch a music documentary on some band I'd never even heard of or could give a fuck less about because I'm wicked interested in the stories of bands. Like, you know, and
fascinating.
I don't know why. Like, I'm like how shit came together and like all the fucking chaos and madness that's usually behind the scenes and shit. Like, some people are into like true crime shit. I'm into like band shit. Like, you know what I mean? Me too.
I could read books about bands or watch documentaries about bands. Just like, it's just so interesting how some are able to stay together and keep doing cool stuff. And I watched this Rush documentary like over and over and over again. So the story is just so good. I just fucking love that movie. And even there's been a couple of Grateful Dead documentaries, and I'm not like a big Grateful Dead fan, but man, that story is fucking fascinating about how that band just stayed together for years and years and years and did cool shit, and like how they toured, and it's wild, man.
I watched that one.
So cool.
It was on, I think it was the one that was on Amazon Prime that was like 5 or 6 parts.
Yep.
Dude. Do you see that shit? Oh, sorry.
That sound system that they built.
Oh, that's fucking nuts, dude. It wasn't that guy like that ran it like one of the biggest LSD manufacturers in the world or something too.
Something like that. Yeah, exactly.
Fucking crazy.
Cool.
You see that thing Peter Jackson is doing on the Beatles? Like they found all that footage.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's like something about like there's a rooftop of like the last footage that they have of them, like, and they're breaking up like right at that time or something like that. They're playing some rooftop party or something like that. Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, well and people have seen the rooftop footage before where they played on top of Apple Records or whatever, but Apple, like them all making that last record, like they had a film crew there filming like almost all of it. And I think I can't remember how many hours of footage there was, and they were cleaning out like their archives or something, and they just stumbled across it. It was totally forgotten, and I guess it changed the story. Now, I don't know, I haven't seen it, but I saw like a little 5-minute thing on it, and it basically changes the story because even though they were breaking up, like everyone just thought it was all strife and weirdness, but like literally it was just like they were still friends and they were like still cool. I'm not even a big Beatles guy, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm waiting for this thing because I want to see it. But allegedly, it changes the narrative of the story, and it was like more like, you know, they were just naturally drifting apart, but they weren't like enemies. You know what I mean? They were still like cool. Like,
well, that's cool.
And it shows them like, but it shows you the whole process of like McCartney, like, because they only had a limited time to get the record together. So you'll see him just strumming ideas out to like songs that are like mainstream hits that you've heard for 50 years, you know what I mean? But you'll see him just like kind of strumming it out and working it out on the guitar or whatever. And so it follows all that shit, I guess. And, you know, to me, it just...
When does it come out?
I don't even know. It's coming out soon, but it's on like Disney. I don't have fucking Disney. I got to get it, like, or find someone to give me a code or something.
I want to watch that.
I don't have kids, so I can't really justify subscribing to Disney, even though I guess they have some good programming coming out.
Well, there's so many channels.
I know. I can't keep up on
so much stuff.
Dude, I work too much to keep track of all that shit, dude. Like, you know, it's fucking bananas.
Exactly. And then I try to read too. And all that stuff, so it's like,
dude, Peter Jackson's a weird anomaly to me because it's like the dude that did Dead Alive. Like, to me, like he did old cheesy horror movies and then like somehow stumbled into making Lord of the Rings, and now he's like this like major, massive, like fucking, you know, movie maker, you know. And I guess,
and he did that World War I film where he like, did you see that? What's it called?
1914.
Can't remember the name of it. Where they took all the footage and then they figured out he built a computer program to like, you know how like old black and white footage is kind of jerky and it runs too fast. So he figured out a way to like slow it down and make it and colorize it so it looks like regular. So it doesn't look like it's so old, you know.
Yeah,
so like you can understand the context more of like what did you see that film
No,
that he made
it
about
was
World
on
War
my
I?
list.
It's rad. Oh, it's called When We Grow Old or something like that.
Yeah.
And
You know, I'll just look at IMDb
cool.
for him later and dig that out.
It's really cool. It's just like how he just change the format of the film so that you can sort of, and it just brings it home, like how rough it was. It doesn't seem like it was a million years ago because it's just the way it's shot and like the technology at the time, and the voiceover with all these old veterans, and it's rad.
I gotta look at it. I like old war documentaries too. Like that's
me too.
There's just not enough time in the day. Like I wish I was one of those motherfuckers that like got laid off during COVID, like so I could have just had time to fucking just chill and do shit and fucking whatever. But I don't know.
Exactly.
I literally, if I had 3 days off in a row, I wouldn't even fucking know what to do myself. I'd go fucking bananas, like stir crazy. You know? So,
I know.
But
I'm the same. I can't wait. Someday I'm gonna have that bored feeling again that you had when you were like 8 years old.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get to that feeling, but it's never gonna happen. There's too many books to read, things to build, and places to go, I think. So. Yep.
And there's always something to do on your bikes too. You know what I mean? There's
always.
I think like you'd have to really try to be bored. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. Yeah, but I'm making it my goal. I'm making it my goal to try to be bored, to get through all these things that I'm interested in and just exhaust them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I heard an adage once that only boring people can get bored. So
that's probably right. That's probably true.
So if you've been bored in the last 3 months or something, don't take it personal. I'm not calling you boring.
Yeah,
it's just an old saying. It's an old saying. Yeah. Nah, I don't think anyone like. I always get worried. And then I'm like, the motherfucker's listening to this. No one's got thin skin listening to this podcast. That's for sure. You know, like we ain't getting canceled. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But dude, man, I know you've got a lot going on. We're in the 2 week countdown before. What is it? So it's like 2 weeks, right? Before.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
God
less than 2 weeks. It's a week from this Friday. So
Jesus
in the final throws, but.
Yeah.
Going good. I think we're on track.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, lots to do.
Fuck yeah, I can't even imagine, dude. Dude, we're almost at 2 hours here, man, on a fucking phone. I didn't even realize. I just looked down. I was like, God damn, we've been talking. That's fucking rad.
I could keep going, dude. I can't wait to see you again. Either if it's either in Milwaukee or at another show. I got to come on and visit you. I want to see your world and meet your friends. That would be rad.
No, absolutely, man. And if we do our thing again this summer, I'll which we are.
Yeah, please let me know.
I'll let you know, and because it's fun, dude. Like we literally get. It's not technically a battleship. It's another type of ship. Everyone gets all upset. Oh, it's technically a destroyer or whatever it is, but we get this whole fucking battleship. Fuck you guys. It's a fucking battleship, and the pre-party's like literally on a battleship. We build a stage. We get a full liquor license. We build bars. And we have bands playing. Damn. We had Murphy's Law last time, like you know what I mean. Like
no way.
Yeah, and we just have fucking fun, dude. And it's like sunset in Boston in the harbor on a fucking ship of war with big fucking mammoth guns over your head, and fucking we bring some bikes up on the ship sometimes. It just depends on the tides and shit because the gangplank gets a little fucking sketchy.
Oh yeah, I'll bet.
You know what I mean? And you know, and it's like. It's like the best, dude. And then, then the main show is like the next day. And, it's like, but,
killer. Count me in.
Yeah.
I want to come and see it.
Absolutely, dude.
I've never spent any time in Boston. So it's like one of the major American cities I've never visited. I know nothing about it at all. So like it's such a huge mystery to me, and I really can't wait to come and check it out.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Well, so in full disclosure, the Boston of today is not the Boston of like the 80s or 90s, like just like every other like northeastern city, like New York is same thing. It's like it's a little gentrified and a little, so it's been way cleaned up and stuff, and a lot of the things that made things cool and special of the neighborhoods, like some of the neighborhoods are still there, but by and large, like a lot of the old rad things are fucking gone, you know, and but there's still enough cool shit there, and there's so much history shit, like you can be like, oh yeah, here's the bar where they fucking planned the revolution, you know, you want to go see that? It's right there, you know what I mean?
That's awesome.
You know, that type of shit is there. And then, you know, there's a lot around, and there's a ton of good riding by us. I'm not in the city anymore. We're like in the woods, like 40 miles south, and
cool.
You know, rad. It looks like you're in Maine when you're around here, and it's fucking.
Man, I want to come.
Yeah,
it sounds so cool.
Anytime, you know. Obviously, you know, you'd rather come in spring or summer than now.
yeah.
Unless there was like a really rad. Unless Zeke and Gangrene were doing a show together, I would let you know.
Yeah, then I'm there anytime.
Yeah, fuck yeah. But yeah, dude, let's you know, if I'll bring my shit with me, and maybe next time, I know you're probably going to be too crazy and stuff, but if I stay an extra day or two, maybe we do a podcast. It's way funner when we can like sit across from each other, and like, this has been awesome over the phone, but you know, maybe we get you and Warren,
get Jeremy and Warren,
and we can all sit there and do a fun one, you know, like all, you know, just having drinks and hanging out, you know what I mean, and
maybe get California Nick to moderate too. So
I think we talked about this a little bit. I've been trying to get Nick on the show, but he's like he's very not antisocial, but he's very like, I don't know. No one's gonna find it interesting. I'm like, dude, we have the funnest talks. you have a lot to say, dude. Like, you know what I mean?
He's so interesting. He's like the most interesting person in the world. So I don't know why he thinks that.
I know.
But, so we'll keep trying. I'm going to work on him too then.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. Fucking give him a little prod, you know, especially now that you've been on, you know, but yeah, so big shout out to Nick from At the Risers and fucking Farco, which is like the funnest company ever. Like,
exactly.
And the best thing ever is like, what made you? He's like, oh, you know, I just wanted to do some stickers that would bum people out, kind of, you know, whatever. And his like slow California, like, yeah, I just wanted to bum some people out and do some fun shit, you know. And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, and he's such a nasty artist,
good.
You know, like, and he gets it.
Yeah,
he's fun,
so good. So good. I know the stuff that he just like does in his sleep is like the more that, you know, most people could dream of, you know. He's just like, yeah.
We just gotta fucking prop him up and get this motherfucker a little bit more self-esteem, man, because he just shit, he like not shits on himself. You know, he's just like, no, I don't give a fuck about that. I'm like, dude, you do fucking rad shit, dude. Shut the fuck up.
I know. He's so rad. I could sit and talk for hours with that guy. He's the best.
I know. And that's the thing. And that'll, you know what? Maybe if he comes out and he's out there in March, we'll get me, you, and him will sit down and we'll just.
All right.
We'll do another one of those conversations. We'll just sit somewhere and fucking have some drinks and we'll get him loosened up and get him going.
All right.
But fuck yeah, man. Why don't you give out all the all the web addresses and social media contacts so people can find out more about everything you guys got going on, and I'll put them in the show notes as well, but you know, just maybe give a list of some of those out, and I'll make sure I get them all in the show notes so people can see what's up.
Well, I think, you know, our world's mostly on Instagram, so we're Mama Tried Show on Instagram, and also Flat Out Friday on Instagram. Well, FLAT Out Friday. So, and I'm Scott Fuel on Instagram. So if anybody wants to look into my world, that's where I am. And if you're in the area, come and see us in December. Otherwise, definitely come and hang out in March when Truth is going to be in town and Nick will be in town.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll party.
Is Nick coming in March?
I think
you're gonna make him.
I think now it's like now it's a personal challenge. I'm gonna drive out there and pick him up.
I'll go get him on my way. You know, you got too much to do that week. I'll go get him.
Perfect.
Well, fuck yeah, man. Well, this is a good time, bro.
All right, dude. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's super fun. I love talking to you.
Fuck yeah, man. Thanks for coming on.
Really an honor.
No,
It's really
honor's all mine, dude. I'm going to shut this off, but I'm not hanging up. Just hold up one sec.